Welcome. There are many things to add and more to consider to the lore, given the time between my last video and Act 2's release. So let's start from the beginning as if we had never done it before. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made many people very angry and has been widely considered as a bad move. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formed. Actually, what I said before still sort of applies, so here it is. ULTRAKILL story TLDR. Sometime before the prelude, God disappeared, and heaven was in chaos, with the angels temporarily abandoning hell. Minos helped lust undergo a renaissance, while Sisyphus formed an insurrection in greed. A council of angels was created in God's stead, and Gabriel killed both Minos and Sisyphus, ending the lust renaissance and the greed uprising. Gabriel also attacked and defeated the Leviathan at this point as well. Unrelated, a war on Earth led to blood-fueled robots, but then everyone declared peace. Humanity was then rendered extinct soon after. Soon, the machines humans created stormed hell. Minos' corpse was killed again. Minos' soul was killed. Minos really taking a beating here. This particular part doesn't matter to the overall story. While the events surrounding Minos and the flesh prison are true, it doesn't matter whether or not you actually go in and defeat him. And Gabriel was defeated and punished by the council. After this moment, Gabriel returns to hell, finding that lust and limbo are completely barren, with gluttony slowly dying off. He ends up in heresy waiting for V1. V1 kills the last ferryman and the Leviathan in wrath. V1 eventually reaches heresy and defeats Gabriel again, compelling him to retreat once more and contemplate his existence.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
He finds purpose within himself, independent of anyone else.
You are not cringe.
In an act of personal justice, he kills the holy counselors, before showing all of the angels the severed head of the most recently deceased. Afterward, he leaves heaven for good,
I'm out of here.
and enters hell for the final time. There are a lot of finalities in Act 2. The end is coming for everything. Now that we've gone over what we've seen in game, let's review some theories. My first theory in the previous video is the end of mankind by the machines. Now, I still have no doubt that the machines played a part in killing humans, but I do need to clarify that I do not think it was just the machines. The street cleaner entry mentions tainted air that needed purification by fire. The climate crisis was so bad that you needed to burn away contaminants in the open air to breathe properly. As we all know, climate change isn't a killer, but it opens the door for many other things to kill us. As such, I don't think machines are the sole killer of humanity. Instead, they may be a part of the final result. Machines were a reason, but not the reason for human extinction. My second theory, V1 is God, is different.
Dear God.
There's more.
No.
Akita disapproves,
God
which
damn it.
means that we need to think about this differently.
Well, my day's ruined.
Actually, I knew it was a stretch way before he said this. I have been thinking of something else for a while. His comment only made it easier to throw out the God theory. I believe this new idea is a lot more plausible. I assumed God controlled V1 because of coincidental factors. God is gone, V1 can respawn, V1 can beat an angel and a prime soul. These powers, I believed, were only possible to a machine because V1 had God's divine power. But I was looking at things wrong. My new theory: V1 can do everything it does because of its exceptional refueling technology that coincidentally exploits a pattern across every living thing. Akira confirms that while some living beings don't need blood to survive, everything that lives in the ULTRAKILL universe contains blood. That's important because V1 is a one-of-a-kind, the only robot that fuels on blood instantly upon contact. Thing is, by sheer coincidence, everything down here has blood. This simple fact about this universe tells us that V1's unique refueling method allowed it to challenge gods. Other machines have to refuel during downtime after a battle, and other beings like husks and angels likely need to do something else. For instance, humans need to eat, angels might need to restore or replenish their holy light, etc. V1 is unique in that it can return to maximum efficiency in the middle of combat, making it far outpace and overpower every other combatant through sheer recovery. Another thing to consider is that there is no hierarchy among ULTRAKILL's enemies. Gabriel says this in the Act 2 transmission.
For there is no species nor origin, vested rank or holy status that will stop the sharp edge of a sword. We all bleed the same blood, and the cushions of your thrones have made you weak and impotent.
This is Gabriel saying angels are not untouchable beings, that even they are susceptible to being killed by what was once believed to be lesser beings. Furthermore, in the Discord, Akira says if you're thinking any faction is more powerful than the others, you're looking at things wrong, which is what I did. I had assumed that machines were in fact lesser than angels, which is why V1 being a machine beating an angel was so astonishing. This further brings down the idea that angels aren't necessarily more special, they simply believe they are, due to their dogma and being backed by God. So, V1 can kill angels and such, not because V1 has godlike powers, but because it can maintain peak efficiency almost 100% of the time. Next, we have direct confirmation of the origin of V2, which is a lot simpler than you think. V1 was obviously developed first due to the wars plaguing the Earth. Unfortunately, the war ended just as V1 entered prototyping. Afraid of sunk costs, the company developed another V model with different modularity but kept the same base identity. V2's purpose was to be a security bot for private consumers, possibly in conjunction with drones. Also, unfortunately, humanity either became extinct soon after, or no one was interested enough in the V model, as it too was only a prototype. However, this did not prompt the company to scrap and forget about the V models, as they're both active during the machine's raid on Hell, which is happening right now. That is, until the two had a family dispute that resulted in V1 deciding to test the strength of V2's plating against sandstone in several tens or hundreds of meters of height. Yes, V2 is dead. No, it's not coming back in any way, shape, or form. He ain't recovered from this. Lastly, let's talk about the story of ULTRAKILL itself. ULTRAKILL's lore is unique in the way that it is told, described, and the simple premise of it differs from other mainstream games. In most stories, the events happen around the protagonist, who is progressing things along and is ultimately the catalyst for how things happen around them. In ULTRAKILL, the story has already happened. God disappearing, Minos building a city, Sisyphus forming an insurrection, and the fights after the council restores order, the wars on Earth, the discovery of Hell, the extinction of humanity. All the essential things happen before V1 enters Hell. Sure, the machines cleaning house in Hell is also essential, but it's not because of V1. V1 is just a part of it. Certainly notable, but not the sole reason. V1 is the player character, but it's not the main character. Who is? Well, who experiences the most change throughout the story, who has an arc, who begins in a certain way and changes throughout the game. Yup, it's Gabriel. Gabriel is the main character of ULTRAKILL. ULTRAKILL is a game about relentless, stylish, and chaotic slaughter. But ULTRAKILL is a story about how your ideas can be wrong and how dogma can be dangerous. As an archangel, Gabriel was God's right hand for the longest time. He'd always done what he was told, and done so efficiently. But with God gone, the veil is lifted from his eyes, and he sees everything for what it is. Perhaps he seeks redemption, or maybe he just wants to end it all now. ULTRAKILL is a story about an angel of God defying his original purpose and seeing his actions through the lens of reality, humility, and compassion. This lens is forced onto him by V1, no doubt, but ultimately it is Gabriel on whom this story places the most focus on. We as V1 are just the catalyst that propels Gabriel to change, a flat, unchanging character with no personality. If anything, we are the antagonist, a recurring character the protagonists constantly fight against, forcing them to change to win a battle of wits, strength, or even ego, to prove he is worthy. We will see the results of this nihilistic battle at the end of Act 3, in the heart of treachery. So, to recap, the machines weren't the only reason humanity fell. It was likely a combination of factors, including, but not limited to, the fallout of the previous war, a climate crisis, machine uprising, and possibly even divine intervention. No, V1 is not God. I was wrong. God is missing, and likely will remain. Instead, V1 is powerful because blood is fuel. V1 can refuel and repair itself on the fly, and everything has blood. No, V2 is not coming back. However, it was created before the war to hopefully get a return on investment sunk into V1. It was indeed produced as a security bot though. Neither V1 nor V2 took off, so they are both one of a kinds. No, V1 is not the main character. It's a unique robot to be sure, but it is not special to the story. ULTRAKILL is, instead, a tale of Gabriel realizing his life was a lie, and moving forward in a world without God and the weight of billions of sins on his back. Even so, the lore of ULTRAKILL goes far beyond the present day. Almost everything important happened before we arrived, and our journey through hell only ties up loose ends. I guarantee there will be a small detail I forgot to mention here. If one of you makes a comment pointing it out, I'll reply with an answer and favor the most important ones. We have some time before the second Prime Sanctum, which no doubt will drop some heavy lore. So remember to check the comments every now and then for potential developments. We will surely meet again, eventually.